480 years, there was some sort of destructive epic that came onto the earth. You can read it historically. You can read it in Timaeus by Plato. You can read it in the geology. It follows a pattern. You have the double-headed eagle here, actually the phoenix being reborn from the ashes of the previous destruction, because it's kind of a paradox. It's both created and destroyed at the same time. It looks back to the past and forward to the future. Well, if you're navigating, it is also important to realize where you are on the planet. And with respect to 33 1/3, is something very interesting about that, because 33 latitude and 33 longitude, both above and below the equator, are only touching one place on this planet, on actual terra firma. And I looked into this with a little bit more scrutiny, because our modern longitudinal line, based on the Greenwich meridian, was only installed in 1884 during the Global Meridian Conference. Alan Chester Arthur was the president at that time. People from all over the world came to New York and got together to figure out where they were going to put the prime meridian. This is a Paris meridian, and it was established hundreds of years longer than the Greenwich meridian. The Knights Templars, the Crusaders, they would measure the Earth by this line, not this line. Latitudinally, it's a no-brainer. 33 1/3 has always been right here, unless, of course, we've been knocked out of our kilter in orbit. But pay special attention to this little place right here, because it is a mountain that's been recorded from antiquity as a place where something extraordinary happened, the most extraterrestrial-like situation you can talk about from history. 33.33 goes perfectly through one of the three peaks of Mount Hermon. It's distinguished by three peaks in all the literature, and exactly through 33.33 here by the Paris meridian, which is also called the Rose Line. And this is what happened here. It's the Book of Enoch. It goes into detail, much more detail than the Bible does about it, and because it's an extra biblical text, sometimes it's not held up with much esteem. But there are a lot of things it has to say that the fraternities of the illuminated groups across time have paid special attention to. And it says that when the sons of men had multiplied in those days, beautiful and comely daughters were born to them. It's Genesis 6. And the watchers, sons of heaven, saw them and desired them. And they said to one another, come, let us choose for ourselves wives from the daughters of men, and let us beget ourselves children. And they descended to the peak of Mount Hermon. And this isn't just in Enoch. There's a lot of different text here too, mostly obscure as you can get, but you can find them if you need to. Another interesting thing about this general area here is a place called Baalbek, which by the Greenwich meridian is at 36 degrees longitude. This is called the the pregnant stone for some reason by the locals there. It's the largest megalith in existence on our planet. It's about 70 feet wide, 70 feet long, about 14 feet high, 10 feet wide. It's estimated to weigh over 1,000 tons. Here's another perspective of it, the proud flag of Lebanon. And this is a quarry that it's supposedly laying in. And take a look at the erosion here. This isn't just a few hundred years old, not even just a few thousand years. This has all the hallmarks of having weathered the Pleistocene deluge. There's actually Pleistocene alluvials over the top of it. When this was excavated, it was only a little part of it coming out here, and it was covered by what are called Pleistocene alluvials because they were deposited nearly 13,000 years ago. Here's two gentlemen on what's called here the Grand Terrace. This is called the Trilithon. These aren't quite as large as the monolith that's laying in the quarry, but they're pretty close, and they're estimated to weigh around 900 tons each. This is about 30, 40 feet up. And these are the structures that are intact in the area closest to 33 north, 33 east longitude. Here's another perspective, the little man standing next to the site. I looked into some of the etymology of the actual word for the watchers that Enoch was talking about. And it's always this word in Hebrew, pronounced air. This is a little different to try to say. It's a kind of exasperate. You have to actually breathe pretty hard to say that, but it's close to this. You can find the same word here in Daniel, watcher, different context, but it's still the same word. You can find the word city, almost completely unchanged from the idea of watcher and city. And the first time you find it is in reference to when Cain leaves the Garden of Eden and goes to the land of Nod, east of Eden, and actually builds the first city. And I was thinking, what architectural school did Cain go to learn how to build? I think that there's something going on between him and the watchers. That's my speculation. But here's some cuneiform of the same word from Sumerian, Iri, or Iru, and it means these three things: city, watcher, and also shining, which is interesting because the watchers are called shining ones quite often, even in modern literature. The connection between the abductors of the abductees and the watchers of Mount Hermon is uncanny, because oftentimes you'll hear the same words that are the most ancient in the descriptions of these watchers from Mount Hermon before the flood. And here you have a direct translation, a transliteration to the Greek from air to Arios. Os is the masculine form of the word. Aria would be, say, the warlike attributes of Athena. She would be called Aria instead of Arios. And Mars, just get a good Latin lexicon, actually means to shine. So we go to Mars. And now you'll actually notice, if you've been following Richard Hoagland's work or gone to my website, that this area here on Mars, discovered by the Viking probes, is actually aligned from true north of 33.33 degrees. And here it is along the longitudinal line, the meridian, actually, the great meridian they have on Mars, and it's pretty close. It's actually been named by Schiaparelli Cydonia. And that's very, very compelling, because the place where the watchers first came down is also named Cydonia. And Nanas has some very interesting things to say about the people who first came down here, and the people who lived there later on who actually bred with them. He calls them divine progeny, with the age that's that of the universe. Not many people actually get to see this picture because they've been told it doesn't really exist. It's not really anything on Cydonia except a eroded mesa. But this is on the Cydonia area. And this is what Richard Hoagland has said. It's bifaced, which I think is connected to this whole business down here with the watchers, because you have one side is a man, the other side is a lion. There's even a biblical precedent for this in Ezekiel when he talks about decoration in the inside of the temple. He says the panels of the holy place were made with cherubim, and there were palm trees between them, and every face faced one direction. It had two parts to it. One was of a lion facing one direction, one was of a man facing the other direction, and they had it lined out in the wood panels all around the inside of the holy place of the temple. That doesn't exist yet. And they oppose each other, these symbols, a man and a lion, directly across from each other. There's a messianic connection to this.